This is Kristin Beltzer, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Connect with KB. My guest today is a true entrepreneur. She is a powerhouse making moves in the Lansing business community, and she knows how to build a corporate empire. I want to welcome to the podcast my very good friend, Lauren Aitch. Thanks for joining me, Lauren. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you, KB. It's so great to be here. I really appreciate you allowing me to come in.
Absolutely. You know, you and I have been friends for a while. We took a trip about 8 years ago. We went to China together, and that was a wonderful experience. And you have kind of set yourself into this community as someone not only committed to her profession, being an entrepreneur, but being a real community advocate too. And so I want you to tell the Lauren Aitch story.
Yeah, absolutely. So born and raised in Lansing, Michigan. And my father, he played basketball at Michigan State back in the 60s, 66 and 67. He was from St. Louis, Missouri. And when he came here and played here, he really loved the community. He fell in love with the community. And that's why he didn't leave. So that's what made me be here. So I grew up here. I love the community that I grew up in. I always have had a lot of support, and I really realized that even more so once I came back from overseas playing basketball in Copenhagen after I played at Michigan State.
Yeah.
And I felt like when I came back from Copenhagen, I had like a desire to really help the community that had always supported me, but also I had entrepreneurial dreams as well. And so I think meshing those two together, but also being able to continue to stay focused on my vision and passion is something I've been able to do in Lansing because of the support.
Well, and you know what? The thing is, you are very bold. I like that about you. And I mean that in a very respectful way.
Thank you.
You know what you want to do, and you have no inhibition about going after it. And it's one of the things that I have always admired about you. And people have such great respect for you. Talk a little bit about going to Michigan State and your dream to play basketball. Mm-hmm. And then, really how did that skill set transfer over into become an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. That was definitely instilled in me from my parents. Both of them very bold in their, in both for their careers. My mom always being at the top of her game, top executive in every company she's been to, always number one. And my father too, being a fierce competitor as well at Michigan State, being Big Ten champs there, and also going on to play with the Pacers too. So I kind of get it from both of them. And when I was at Michigan State, even before I went to Michigan State, I won a state championship at Waverly High School, and it's the one and the only women's state championship that they won there. And I think my desire and passion started there for the sport, but also just drive, to want to achieve and want to win. And it transferred over to Michigan State as well. We had some pretty significant wins at Michigan State. And I really feel that, my community involvement increased as well when I was at Michigan State too.
Well, you leave Michigan State, you have an opportunity to play professional basketball. Yes. You have these dreams of being an entrepreneur. You step into that, but you also established the Aitch Foundation.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit about that, because you've raised some significant dollars.
Yes, absolutely.
For cancer research.
For sure. Yeah, so when I was overseas, I was able to finish my master's in my 5th year at Michigan State. And when I got to Copenhagen, I was really able to take some time and figure out, okay, what is it that I want to do? Because I knew how to play basketball. That was something I had been doing my whole life. And I wanted to start a foundation in memory of my father. He had passed away in 2007 when I was at Michigan State. It wasn't from cancer, but it was an allergic reaction to a medication, and it was very sudden. And so one of the things that my dad was always very big about and bold about is helping your family, being very entrenched in, even though sometimes family can be crazy, but they're still your family. They're still your family. And so, thinking along those lines, I've had a lot of family members who have passed of cancer. And so that's what circled me around to focusing on cancer research at Michigan State University. And to date, we've been able to kind of speed you up. We've been able to raise right around $750,000 given back to Michigan State to fund fellowships at Michigan State for students who are expanding cancer research. And what we focus on is early detection devices, because In the battle for cancer, the biggest thing is finding it early. If you find the cancer early, then there is a lot of things that doctors can do. When it gets to the later stages, that's when it becomes more deadly. And so that's our focus. We've also had some advocacy days where we have had people come out and get screened for cancer. We've paid for that. And so there's just a lot of things. And we also have another area in our foundation called 45 Reasons. And I was number 45, and my dad was number 45, and he loved children. He loved mentoring kids as well. And so 45 Reasons is revolved around kids' passions, like the things that they want to do so that they can find community. I think with me growing up, being able to play basketball, I found other people like me. And so that allowed me to find identity. It allowed me to really grow into who I could become, and my height too. So, I didn't feel outside because everyone was tall. So that was really important to me, and I feel like that could be something very important for other kids and people in the community.
Well, when you talk about the community, and you've had the fundraising aspect of it entailed fashion show.
Yes,
and so a lot of different people in the community have participated
Absolutely.
in that, and you've really brought a lot of awareness to the Aitch Foundation. But let's also talk about your role as the owner of Human Base and being the head designer there. And you've got a new product too that I want you to tell the listeners about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 2020 has been, quite a year for everybody. And, I think a good, phrase for this year is be nimble, be quick. Right. Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick. You have to kind of pivot and make some shifts and changes. With our company, we focused on patented products that helped workforce workforce problems for different larger companies. And as soon as this pandemic hit, the conversation completely changed. Like those conversations of workforce issues, they didn't seem as important anymore when you're dealing with a seemingly deadly pandemic. And so, one of the things as a company we had to look at is, how can we help in this? And how can we create something that could be beneficial? Because we were already in innovation, already in the space of creating wearables. And so one of the things that I started to look at, and I was during the time when we have a lot of time at home, with my husband, just sitting and throwing things off the wall, just thinking about some other ideas that, we could utilize. And we looked at the Clorox, bleach, wipes. They had a couple different things there about, 99%, killing bacteria and things of that nature. I'm just like, okay, let's look at some technology options in fabrics. And so we were able to come across some really technical fabrics that could be very beneficial. And we've come into a line of antiviral garments. And essentially what makes viruses, bacteria, and things what they are is their cell membrane. So what holds it together. And so in our antiviral garments, what they do is that they're treated so that what happens when a virus or bacteria hits it, it breaks down the cellular wall of the actual virus. And when that wall is broken down, it inhibits its ability to develop more or to spread more, and it makes it dissolve because now it is exposed to the exterior things of the world, and it's not able to hold its composition. Yep. So that's what our antiviral garments are able to do, but also we focus on the filtration rate as well. With filtrations with the regular mass of 0.03 micron, we have very tightly woven fabrics that actually filter it as well. So you have a two-part punch with these. And so it's a greater protection. And, it actually, the conversations really started with the training staff at MSU. Wanting more protection for them. Sure. And so we first started the conversation with the scrubs, and then we moved into the gaiters. And so that's kind of how we've kind of developed it. And now we're at the point of reaching out to companies and businesses just to say, hey, here's a greater line of protection. You can use it if you would like when you're coming back in, or you don't have to. But it's just another opportunity for them to protect their employees and their loved ones.
Was Coach Mel Tucker wearing one of these last week during the game? Was that one of your products?
So ours are actually coming out in this next month. So.
Oh, they are? Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah. How are you marketing that right now?
So right now it's really word of mouth. It's conversations with people. You know, I usually, what happens is every time you're talking to a friend or a loved one or the people in my network in the community, a lot of times they're talking about the different issues that they're facing with their companies. And so essentially it's like, oh, well, we do have this product that you can potentially use if you would like. And we send them the one pager and say, hey, this is what it does. And just so you understand what it does. And then the conversation goes from there. We're also working with the House of Representatives as well. Yep. And so, you know, it's a great option for a way to protect your family and friends.
Well, and they can put their logos on it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
So they can kind of brand it however that they want. So it's a real opportunity for some brand exposure for them as well.
Absolutely. Brand exposure. And, you know, just because also too, like, you know, even though this has been not great, you're still able to kind of speak about who you are as a brand with some of these facial guards too. So I think that's really important as well.
Are you still working through Lady H in those, or have you pivoted a little bit now in regards to, or is your time spent now with this antiviral garment product? Or, it must be hard to kind of facilitate it all. Yeah.
So no, absolutely. So yeah, we definitely have pivoted more focus of the human-based apparel, just because that was an area that there was a greater market, and any entrepreneur knows that as you start to build a company or start to look into ways to develop a clothing line or anything, you have to go where the need is. And you can't necessarily, because I think when I had started Lady H, there was a lot of things that I liked, but wearables is what is necessary for people. Yeah. Where are the issues at, and what do they need? And so I think the pivot was correct. We did it a couple years ago, and just focusing in on our undergarments, focusing in on the workforce errors, and I loved it because it was helping people. Because, you know, we went, you know, so many different places and companies and found out like just little small issues that they have that could significantly change the ability of the person who's actually working and make things more comfortable for them. And so it really played along to my heart's desire to help people. And so, you know, that's really what turned and shifted our mode.
As you talk a little bit about your heart's desire, you are going to be a first-time mom in January.
Yes, me.
Yeah, and, you know, I guess maybe that is being an entrepreneur at its finest, is building a little human.
I know,
but,
right.
You know, how do you kind of look at that in terms of a little bit of a change in your life?
Absolutely. So me and my husband, Chad, are just so excited for our baby. I have to tell you that, you know, initially, you know, we started talking about having kids, and I've always, you know, wanted to have children. He wants a lot of children, but I'm like, okay, let's do two.
Let's start with one.
Let's start with one and see how. And I would have been okay with twins too, but we are so excited. We're expecting a baby boy, and we just feel so blessed. I mean, it's such a blessing to create a life. I mean, there's just even in the process of me being pregnant, I've learned so much more about myself. I mean, in the beginning phases of being pregnant, it was very interesting because I've always been very healthy, like meaning that never have really gotten sick. Like I'm really a healthy person. And the first month, it took me for a turn. And when I say that, I mean, I was like, I feel like I had a contract with my body for all these years that we don't get sick. And then when this baby came into play, that kind of got thrown out the window. I feel like there was a breach of contract.
That's the only kind of breach we want to hear.
Yes, breach of contract. And so, but we have really enjoyed creating a space in our home for the baby, and everything's been geared towards, you know, I mean, with our parents, you know, them being grandparents, you know, everything has been geared towards, okay, what do we need to do we call him Baby G right now. What do we need to do for Baby G? And our mindsets are fixed on that. But, you know, we're not, I don't feel like we're anxious or we're worried. I think this is like a natural next step for us. Yeah, you know.
As you come up here on motherhood in your life, it's going to change drastically.
Yes,
I can tell you that. Some of your greatest life lessons and the people who've been important and mentors in your life.
Oh my goodness, there's so many. Oh gosh. Okay. I don't want to leave anyone out. So I have to say first and foremost, my parents. I would have to say those have been my greatest mentors because they led by example, and my mother continues to show me things and show me how to maneuver in this life. And then, I mean, my coaches from all the way from high school all the way to Copenhagen, from MSU. I had Joanne P. McCauley. I had Susie Merchant, who is a fierce advocate for me, which is phenomenal. You can't ask for any more. And then in the business community, Paula Cunningham, Kelly Rossman, there's so many people that really stood up and helped me. Pat McFarland, I mean, I don't want to leave anyone out, but there's so many people who would sit down and have a coffee with me and give me the real. Yeah. You know, I was bold, but they would always say, these are things that you need to consider. Sandy Kilborn, Colleen McNamara. There's so many that really said, you know, Lauren, let's embrace what you want to do, but let's make sure that we're focusing in on what you really need to do. April Clopes. See, the names are just coming, but so many of them. And I feel that each of them always instilled in me that as you're moving forward, just make sure you make considerations for what's really necessary, what you really need, and what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? As you kind of go on this journey next, I think that, too, you are playing a very pivotal role in this community, that you're giving back to people all the time, too, and doing just great work. And so keep me posted on how little baby G comes and, and how happy you are.
I know, definitely. Thank you, KV.
You bet. My guest today, Lauren Aitch, owner of Human Base. I want to thank my supporting sponsors, Marketing Resource Group, White Law, Dowding Industries, Governmental Consultant Services, AF Group, AT&T, and the Loomis Law Firm. You can listen to all of my podcasts at connectwithkb.com. Until we connect again, go live your best life. I'm your host, Kristin Beltzer.